Okay, this is a picture is sort of a bit of a sad story in that I went out to paint the floods near me, which are very, very beautiful. And, well, as often painting outside, plein air, things do not go quite to plan. So I was actually standing out in the flood with, I'll put up some footage actually, you can have a look now. This is the scene I was faced with as the River Stour is up very high. So it's harder to find a picture than you might imagine, but I did find one that I thought was pretty good. So I set away, and the light was lovely and the sun was dropping. But unfortunately the sun was dropping rather too quickly, and the light went away, and I was looking at a different scene. And it's always difficult in that circumstances. Do you struggle on trying to remember how it was, or do you what they call chase the light? And I think chasing the light is nearly always a bad idea, because you lose the original contest. You know, you're painting a different scene, and it will it'll dominate whether you like it or not. You know, you'll start to see the the new scene will overtake the old one, and you'll lose the moment you were initially trying to paint. You might still do a nice painting. That's not the point. But anyway, so. As my welly was leaking also, I took the easy route and I left. And so what I've got here is a painting that is quickly blocked in. I don't think I was more than 20 minutes in, just when I felt the water seeping in. So anyway, we have to take this to a finish, and I have a photo here. And I got the same problem again. I don't want the photo I took to dominate the quick block-in I did. You know, it's a very difficult balance. So I want to do enough to bring the scene into focus, but hopefully not lose the immediacy of the quick sketch. I probably will lose the immediacy of the quick sketch, but there you go. I shall attempt not to. So as you see from the image, it's quite a lot more subtle than I have here, but I'm tolerably pleased. And I think the first thing I need to do is to establish this dark reflection here, which I didn't quite get. So I think that's my first target, and I didn't really have time to get the tones in here to build the reflection. So those bits are a bit behind the rest of the picture. So I did quite well down to here, and then things went wrong about here. So anyway, I'm going to do that first, I think. And there's a little bit of green in it, and I'm doing this more than a day afterwards. This process I prefer to do the next day, because the memory of how it was is still in my memory bank, as it were. But life wasn't cooperating, and I didn't get a chance. And we have this tree, and I was very careful in my positioning of this tree, because I thought, it's quite subtle, but I thought it sort of told you a lot about the scene for what it was. And what I'm going to do here as well as I flick about is to soften. And if you have indistinct areas, then it means the viewer can't quite make out what's there. And rather conveniently, they put it in with their imaginations. So they do a lot of so the viewer's eye is doing a lot of the work for you. And the shape of this reflection is rather important. I'm using the side of the brush because it makes a less controlled mark. There's nothing worse than getting in and starting doing that, because you don't make nice marks, which is quite hard to get your head around, really. And I don't even know quite why it's the case, but it does seem to be the case. And I'm trying to reinforce the flows. I can come back with the lights to finish doing that, and sort of take out where I don't want it to happen. And I'm just almost tapping the surface with the brush. Okay, so we've got to take some lights back into that, and that makes tolerable sense. And then here I didn't really get anywhere with this. This is the the again I want to keep this flow going. So this brush, people might feel it's a bit small for the job, but actually it's rather good, and it makes the right sized mark for the job in hand. I can always, if it gets too fussy, go into the bigger brush and add. And this interlocking mesh of ripples, and I need to get these darks established, and because they say such a lot about the structure of the water. And these have to join up with these ones here. And we've got hints of this tree running right down. Now, I've got some highlights coming in from this side, but I think I don't want them because we're falling off the edge of the picture there. I want this to go into a blur, really. Very few light highlights running through it. And I've got a very important colour, this green here. There's a slightly darker version of it, and there's quite a lot of it in here, so that's going to be my next target, I think. That's all pretty good. So I need this duller green here to merge in all these bits here, and it's quite greeny, not quite as greeny as that though, and there's a lot of it here, so that can all go in. And you have to be quite patient here. I could slap this in with a big brush, but it would be the long way round to my end intention. And this is a great colour actually. I've managed to mix a perfect hue for it really, which is good. And towards the edge here, there's almost only that, but I'll creep up to that, and it gets more yellow as it goes up as well. But I can get that on the tidy up. Actually, the water is more than half the picture because I've got this web of highlight coming in here, which is rather nice. But in order for there to be a highlight, there must, of course, be something dark for it to ping out from. And we can re-establish this highlight later, that's no trouble. When you put the highlight in at the end, it's quite rewarding. So we've got this area here, which is rather important as it makes a way through. And it also marks the edge of the reflection of the tree as well, so we need a few of those in there. Now this area, this across here, I think wants to be dragged in so the paint makes the texture, and I think needs to be put in with a ruler really. So that's all pretty good, and that's just not quite white. And we've got a second bit of flood in the next field there as well, which is rather lovely. Okay, so we're getting pretty good now. Actually, there's less to do to this than I expected. I'm going to put the highlights in, and that might be enough. I might stop then. I need a little bit of tidying up there, but not very much. And now we've got this highlight here. It says a lot about the light, and then we've got a highlight that's a step down from this that goes over the darks. This is too bright to go over the darks on the left of the picture. There we go. And we have a very bright bit here. And this has to be in impasto, actual beads of paint, and that gives it the sparkle. So that's looking a lot better, isn't it? Now, I need to have a highlight colour here, but it's got to be down in strength from, and it's marking the edge of the tree reflection as well. So, which works fine, and that can be taken further up as well, so that we've got a good and I'm going to leave it at this point to dry off a bit. Okay, so we've just got the finishing touches on this really. I've think only the distance and those trees, and I sort of want to get the transition to the foreground a little better. And I think, and so maybe some more dark, so that's hard. And a lot of this is just getting rid of stuff that takes the eye too much. There is actually a fence line here that's gone underwater, and I think it makes quite a nice division. It doesn't have to be exactly as it is, but just a little bit more like. And then there's these rather key bits of detail So we've got this split there. And then we have a distant field. In our imagination, we might have another distant field as well to take us a little bit further into the picture. But we'll see about that in a moment. And I sort of want to get this boundary in here. Now our trees are an issue. Here, I often, when I'm doing this, tend to put rather too much detail in and then I edit it out afterwards. I should really be changing to a rigger or something here, but I'm not for some reason. So I always have a little bit of trouble with this because there's a sort of point where it works. It's very, very hard to make any sort of rule to follow. Sometimes it looks nice if there's plenty going on, and sometimes it doesn't. And I need to get rid of, see these bright orangey bits have to all go. So I shall get rid of the bright orangey bits and hope at the same time that it brings the whole lot into a better balance. In a way, in an area like this, it's so complicated you can't understand it. And so if you make it understandable, then you're not really being true to what was there on the day. I think it needs a little bit more, few more blues in it. That's much better. Essentially, that area is there for the mood it brings, and I've got to join the trees right the way down. You don't need much of a hint to follow the trunks down. Okay, that's pretty nice. Another thing, I haven't yet got a full dark in there. I'm keeping my powder dry there. I think that is sufficient. I don't think I'm going to worry too much more about that. But I do need a bit of this hazy blue here to break this through a little bit, so we see in between the trunks. Now, I'm slightly undecided over here in that this feels bluer than I have it. Especially down on this boundary here, it feels bluer, but feel it's not quite blue enough here. So I'll try and get a halfway house that I like. So that's nice. And there we have to have recover our highlights inside the tree here. This is again something that's very easy to overdo. That's enough. I don't need to do any more than that. So that just tracks the line of bright. And here is where I might at another distance, like the floods go even further, which they don't, but they might. So I need a bit of cool in the sky, just enough to give something going on. And this is going in full in impasto, quite thick paint. And I'm going to put a very, very bright impasto on here to create a bit of a line of paint across, just something for the eye to follow across to give the sky structure. And this is in actual really thick paint. The thing with the thick paint, it probably doesn't look so great to the camera, but when the picture's hung in a room and in a frame, those little beads of paint catch the light and add sparkle. So now I really only have this boundary here and this boundary here to sort out. They're the two bits I'm not happy with. So we've got a few brighter highlights floating through this. I'm literally I'm just going to target the last of these bits of the underpainting, but I think for this painting I don't want to. And I want to put a few stronger marks in here to drill home the fact that this is a reflection. Again, I'm not really looking at the reference now. I'm just doing what I think looks nice. And my very, very last act, really, on any painting is to just quietly look at it. And it's not really interesting to film, but to quietly look at it and just try and spot bits that don't quite work. Now we've got our proper recession through. We've got a hint of fields in the distance here, which I rather like that. And I'm going to finesse this tree a bit because it is very key to the composition. Here I'm just breaking the edges of bits that I think are too strong. Because that tree is it has to have its transparency on the horizon there. Okay, I think I've fiddled with that enough. We'll call a halt there. Thank you very much.